The zoning board of adjustment. Can I get a roll call, please?
Gentlemen,
Here.
White,
Here.
Collins,
Here.
Evans,
Here.
is absent tonight. Wayne Kruger and Sayers are here.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a review, action, and approval of the current meeting agenda?
Motion to approve.
And motion from Pat. Second. Yeah, thank you. Can I get a review, action, and approval of the previous meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Motion from Pat. Second. Second, Jeff. All right, thank you. All right. At this time, I'm going to read a statement. Please bear with me. I'm not the greatest public speaker when it comes to this type of length. So this is a statement to be read by the chairman of the Mills County Zoning Board of Adjustment at the start of each meeting. Public hearings will be conducted pursuant to the board's rule of procedure. We will first hear the report of the department on the detailed information and observations regarding the request before the board. If not done, so in written form prior to the hearing. Next, we will take the testimony of the applicant and his or her witnesses. At any time during the presentation of testimony, the members of the board may interrupt to ask questions or to make comments on what has been said. Upon completion of the applicant's testimony, I will call upon members of the audience wishing to be heard concerning the request. Persons in favor of the request shall be heard first, followed by those opposed to it. Upon completion of all testimony, the applicant will be allowed to make a closing statement to the board. Upon completion of the applicant's closing statement, I will entertain a motion from the board to close the public hearing on the request. The board reserves the right to ask questions of any member of the audience. However, we will not hear any unsolicited statements unless the public hearing is first reopened. Each speaker addressing this board shall step forward to the podium and state their name and address before proceeding with their testimony or evidence. The board shall not be bound by strict rules of evidence, but does reserve the right to exclude evidence or testimony that may deem to be irrelevant, immaterial, incompetent, or unduly repetitious. As chairman, I will rule on all questions relating to the admissibility of evidence, which may be overruled by a majority of the board. Constituents, how do you say that word?
Continuance.
There you go. Continuances, so like I said, may be granted by the board in case for a good cause shown to any interested party who has entered their appearance. The board may request a continuance of a hearing for the purpose of giving further notice, taking further evidence, gathering further information, touring the proposed site, or for such other reasons as the board may find sufficient. In such case, we shall state the specific reasons for the continuance and set a date, time, and place when the matter will be continued. All official actions of this board will be made at a public meeting by motion made, seconded, and a polling of the membership. If conditions are imposed, such conditions shall be included in the motion or amended thereto. Our final decision will be prepared in writing and will be part of the public record of this board. Thank you.
Good job, Lauren.
All right. Okay, at this time, can we have the discussion, formal action of the permit number 26-06 of the proposed campground located at TBD Ellington Avenue, 237th Street. It is in the AR zone in Oak Township. If the applicant's ready, we're ready for your applicant. Oh, you stuck that one in there. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to open public hearing.
Second it. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Now we'd like to have the discussion and formal action on permit number 26-06 of the proposed campground located at Ellington Avenue, 237th Street in Oak Township. It's in the AR zone. If the applicant's ready, we're ready for your presentation.
Debbie Rowe,
Kevin Rowe.
5007 from 37th Street. We have just a small parcel of land across from our house that's not currently being used for anything. And so we just would propose that we could have a small RV campground there, with no more than 6 spaces, where it's pretty simple. People could come and park there and, just like stay overnight and go out from there and find activities in the area. 7 days at a time. So it wouldn't be a long-term thing. We currently only have water available for them if someone wants to come and stay. Future plan would be some electricity add in. No kind of a sewer dump or anything like that. Small fire pit area that's on a big cement where a grain bin needs to set is also a possibility. And also we'll have a picnic shelter on another piece of cement that's there that will get cleaned off. Some metal things on it we're going to take away.
Okay, thank you. Anything to add, Kevin? Nope. Okay. We get the staff report. Well, they don't have anything on here yet. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Yep. At this time, we'd call the public comment. If anybody has any opposition, come up to the podium, state your name and address.
Rick Rice and my wife Ann. We're at 54835 Emerald. There's several things that I wanted to bring up. That corner where let's assume we put in the campground. We're going to have to put stop signs and make that a 3-way stop at that corner. People are driving too fast through there now. I'm guessing about 20% of the people that are northbound on 237 don't bother to stop. They slow down and then they start accelerating and heading west on the line. So we're going to have at least the potential of having rear end hits there with vehicles hitting the campers that are going slower to try to get in and out of the park. I didn't hear anything that says did my neighbors here have a plan for noise abatement? I didn't hear anything here about having a resident supervisor on the site to settle disputes, turn the noise down. I didn't hear anything other than a place to park. One of the concerns that I've got, if we were to take Glenwood and split it north, south, east, west, 3 of the 4 schools are in that quadrant where we live up there on Vermeer. Traffic going north on Lynn Street to go up to get on Ellington is going by the grade school. That's traffic that would be coming into the campus would be coming in the afternoons. That's when the school lets out. It's already congested there at Lynn Street, just north of 4th Street on up to 10th. If campers are going to come in and they come in on down Sharp Street past Lynn, they go to Severs. If they pull in there, that Severs winds up and hits 4th Street again, which eventually becomes 240 going north. We've got the middle school sitting there and kids crossing back and forth all the time, and all the sports complexes across the street. If you go further east and go up to 245th, and snake your way around by Catholic Church and then swing up north, you've got the problem with high school kids coming out one car at a time, and it just keeps going for a long time every afternoon. The folks that have been up that way trying to get home, even with just a car, not with their own vehicles. But anyway, the traffic on the traffic on 237th North isn't stopping. Folks can't bring in campers from the east down Emerald. There's a 3,000 ton limit now on the bridge crossing Keg Creek back there. So that means most of the traffic has got to come through Glenwood proper, go through the right through the schools, and before they can get up to our place. They're on
Yeah, I know, God.
on Ellington and Emerald. Are the applicants, are they prepared to put up fencing around the property?
Should not.
Just address us, the board right now.
Okay.
Any concerns that you have?
Well, yeah, if they're just gonna put out trash barrels, then people from outside the community that don't have trash service are gonna just use those barrels and drive in and out, just fill up the trash barrels. It'll be overflowing with trash at the park. Across the street from Bill Rowe, Liz Wilson lives there. She already has a large problem with raccoons tearing up her yard and getting in her garden. If we put any kind of trash cans in something other than a big sealed container, then we're going to have a problem with raccoons.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Does Ellington, does it start level B right there at 237th?
Yeah.
It goes over to 250th.
Correct.
Not quite there.
And
It goes down the hill a little ways.
Goes down the hill a little bit, then it's a dirt road to 250th. All
Yeah,
right, thank
but
you.
it's dropping pretty.
Got it. Thank you.
But I would suggest if the new campground in, we're gonna need to get with the county and put a three-way stop there. Slow traffic down. Otherwise, we're gonna have people rear-ending onto that corner.
We don't have a timer. Normally we have a 2-minute time
Right.
limit. We
So you're
didn't make that announcement at the beginning. So if you could wrap it up.
Just a couple more things.
Okay.
I didn't hear anything about, we'd have sewer, water, there, at least initially. And I would strongly suggest if we're gonna have that campground there, that we have a resident supervisor there to take care of the noise at night, clean up trash during the day, and either lock gates or some means of doing the trash. I've been down to the city park a number of times, and there's a small campground down there, going down to use the dump stations, and the big trash container there is constantly plumb full, and there's only like six or seven stations down there for campers to park on. So it's trash coming in from other places. It's filling it up.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay.
Okay. So we're gonna set a timer of 3 minutes. Is there anybody else that's opposed to this? If they would, please come up to the podium and speak.
Kyle Rockwell, 23534 Arlington Avenue. I'm opposed to this. The rezoning would lower property values. The road conditions in the area are already poor, and this would increase traffic volume. This roadway is already one of the higher traffic travel roads in the county. A recreational site like this has no supporting infrastructure in this area. You're going to put basically pedestrians on the roadway. People are going to want to walk around. They're not going to want to stay in one spot. Uniformity in the area. The mass majority of the lots are multi-acre lots in this area with single-family homes. Putting 6 parking spots on half an acre does not match really anything in the area. And it's nice and short and sweet.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Any additional public comment?
Ann writes, I just like to say, or ask one thing, are they gonna have, we just had bad weather. Are they gonna have some place where these people that are in the campers can go in case there's bad weather? There's nothing there.
Thank you, Ann.
And lighting, are they gonna have some lighting because it's dark on that corner? Maybe they need some lighting or something like that. That's all I have to ask.
Hey, everyone, I'm the closest neighbor to the proposed.
You want to go ahead and give your name and
Art
address?
Noble, 54971 Emerald Lane.
You said Art?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Art.
So I've got a lot of concerns. I moved out there about 2 years ago for privacy and quiet. I didn't move out there to be next to an RV park. This is gonna put extra load on Mills County Sheriff when people get out of hand, get drunk out there, act ignorant, and there's nobody to supervise it. People wandering around in private property, that's gonna go up. We're just not interested in it. Thanks.
Thank you, Art.
Go ahead. I'm just gonna tell them I don't want it either.
Chris Rockwell. I still have interest in property at 23534 Ellington Avenue. With zoning, we've established our zoning rules in Mills County for a reason. This currently isn't allowed in the area that we're in. We're in a residential area, essentially, rural residential, so be it. But there are only 2 access points to this property. That's coming on Ellington or coming up 237th Street, both which are roads that have a lot of traffic that are difficult to maintain. We have a washboard issue on Ellington, washboard issues on 237th Street. This does nothing but adds to that. In addition, in my opinion, when you look at a variance on zoning, you need to look at who does it benefit and whose detriment does it go to. Well, in this instance, the county has maybe some additional income, not a lot, but they're going to have additional maintenance on the road. The residents of the road are dealing with additional dust. They're dealing with people coming in at maybe all hours of the night. You really can't control that when somebody comes into park. When somebody goes out to leave, same thing. We've got additional trash, we've got additional noise, etc. So as far as the developers of the property, they're the only ones that are benefiting. They're benefiting because they have a piece of ground that they're not using. So they're going to have income from that. So really it's to the detriment, not to their detriment, because that ground's not being used now. It's not affecting their well-being, etc. But it affects to the detriment of the residents on that road with the added noise, the added dust, etc. And it actually adds more burden to the county. So the benefits really, the only person benefiting from it would be the developers of it.
Thank you, Chris.
Todd Kelsey, 54885 Emerald Lane. I'm just agreeing with everybody else. We moved out there for peace and quiet. We don't want a noisy ass campground up there causing problems all hours of the night, bright lights. Whatever other kind of issues are going on. They don't have any layout for what they want to put up there. I mean, is it just gonna be gravel road shut down, or is it gonna be concrete, blacktop, nice clubhouse? You want to come in and get something changed, you should have a layout, show people what you like, so it's nothing to go off, so don't want it either.
Thank you, Todd.
Ryan Adams, 55738 237th Street. My wife had wrote a letter. I don't know if you all were planning to read that or read it.
Andrea?
Andrea, yeah.
Andrea?
You want me to, I was just gonna either read it or read an excerpt from
You
it.
can read an extra forever if you like. We do have them.
All right, so part of what she was saying is the most concerning aspect of this proposed ground is noise. Campgrounds generate ongoing noise that differs significantly from typical residential activity. Campgrounds generate multiple recurring noise sources, not just vehicles. So like RV generators, campfires and group gatherings, late arrivals, early departures, dogs that are left on site when they go do something else. Unlike permanent residents, campground users are temporary occupants with limited accountability to standards, making noise enforcement reactive, repetitive, and difficult. So by the time, you have to report it, it's too late. You're already up and dealing with it. So I think, the big thing here is like the noise, and then obviously, what stops it at 6? What if they want to increase it to 12? Or, I don't know how much ground is on there, but I don't want to look up the next day and have a whole hillside of apartments.
Thank you, Ryan.
Justin Sonic, 55556 237th Street. So I retired from the military, 21 years, traveled the world, decided to settle down somewhere that was nice, peaceful, and quiet with my family. My concern with that corner is it's completely exposed. There are no trees. I can see it from my property. There's nothing to hide what would essentially be an eyesore to the area. With the tremendous wind that we have here, you see we have trash cans getting blown over and close trash all over the place. If this happens at that site, who's responsible for patrolling the entire countryside to pick up these little pieces of litter that end up in all of my neighbors' yards? An additional number of transient people coming through. I'm sure everybody watches the news. It's hard to trust people. You just had a FedEx guy that kidnapped a kid out of the front yard. We don't know anything about these people. I don't want to think that they're bad. You don't know in today's day and age. And I've got 2 young daughters that I'm extremely concerned for. Additionally, with that site kind of being open and there not being anything to mitigate noise, sound just carries out there. So if people are playing music, if they're shouting, the dog barking, it just rolls down there. And that's not something that I think Mills County is really equipped to deal with and respond to on a frequent basis. Other than that, I kind of echo what a lot of the other folks have said. I don't think it's in keeping with the character of the area.
Thank you, Dustin.
Thank you.
Is there any additional? Okay.
Ray Plants, 55520 237th Street. I just want to put it down that I'm against it also. I'm not against entrepreneurial things, but it just doesn't seem like a good place for a camp, any way you look at it. No, there's just nothing, it's not nothing to support anything there. It's just a place to come and cause trouble. Most campers are good people. I've been a camper for 30 years. And I've been around a lot of people, but I go places where there's things that support campgrounds, that kind of activity, and there's just nothing. There's no reason for it.
Thank you, Ryan.
My name is Dennis Neff. I live at 55479 237th Street. Not far from the site. And listening to the concerns about the reasonable concerns that these folks have said about noise and such. So I just add my own experience that my wife and I have camped in various sites in Iowa and other places. And my experiences is they're quiet. We have not experienced loudness and rambunctiousness. Just had my own experience at various sites is they tend to be quiet places.
Thank you, Dennis. Is there any additional public comment?
My name is Tim Stanek. I live at 23329 Ellington Avenue, which is on the same side of the road, up the hill, a little bit away from it, west to west. My main concern is the dust that we already have. It's really concerned now that, you know, some of us put down dust control, but it's going to be worse with the additional traffic. The other thing is the transit nature of this, and it would probably bring some crime in. I know it's going to, they said it's a week at a time, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be 1 week for one person. It means it could be additional weeks. They could end up staying there for several months, especially if they're construction workers and people of that nature. Property values have really been going up. I'd like to have my property value go down just so I could pay less taxes. But you're talking about houses there's probably not one under $300,000. I'm probably $400,000 now around the whole area. How would you guys like it if you had a trailer park, or excuse me, a campground set up next to your houses? I'm sure you wouldn't like it, especially if it's across the street or within shouting distance. It's zone agricultural and residential, which is not campground. I mean, people stay at their own homes with campers and stuff, which is fine, but not a income generating property. This is not the area for it. I forgot to hear how many spaces. I didn't quite catch that. How many were there? Six. I understand that's a small amount, which means that they can have 3 at their house, 3 at the other house, you know, down the road, which wouldn't be a problem. Or put it behind their house, Bill Rose old house up there, which would be perfect. That'd be down that road that's not being used. The traffic is another major issue. People run down there and use their RVs to go down to the Level B road to get some decent quiet and enjoy themselves. I'm sure they don't want to go past brouhaha or whatever that could possibly happen up there, or a quiet area with 6 campers and 6 vehicles, or 2 vehicles per camper, which would be 12 vehicles plus 6 campers would be 18 items that could possibly be there or more on acre? It's a half acre.
I believe it's an acre and a half.
Acre and a half, but still 18 vehicles on an acre and a half is quite a bit of traffic. It's quite a bit of stuff there. We already have that around the road up on Elrod already. So with a lot of vehicles up there and campers. So if you want to get to look at it like that, it's fine. I'm sure you don't want to live next to it. And basically that's it. Traffic, dust, lower property values. Think about having it next to your house.
Thank you, Tim.
But Corey, one point of clarification, I think it is a half acre.
Oh, that's what I'm getting ready to look at right now. Now, what is it? Acre and a half taxable. Let's see what. We'll move on as we're talking about that. Is there any additional public comment?
From here,
Go ahead, Bill.
there wouldn't be an Emerald Lane if I hadn't agreed to take my hog houses down. Those people wouldn't even probably be there. But I was a good neighbor and let the fellow develop that land. I think that should count for something.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, at this time, there's no additional public comment. Oh, one last additional comment here.
Hi, Robin Hauser, 54933 Emerald Lane. I did send in a letter. I guess I would like to, agree with opposition. My biggest concern is we've been there for 16 years. We picked that spot because my husband grew up in Glenwood. We knew our children would be safe there. We knew the families that live there, it's residential. As that has already been said. My concern is safety. I grew up in a motorhome for 2 years, traveled the United States. I have traveled Europe and backpacked through Europe. The comment that this place is not intended for what general campground use is intended for. Campground uses, there's playgrounds, there's paths, there's other things to do. This is away from what there are other things to do. So that does almost promote trespassing, additional, maybe even foot, people on feet walking through this rock road that is already not super safe. I guess it just does not lend to, here's what a campground space should look like traditionally and be supported. Again, like if you do have pets, I had pets traveling all the time. So speaking from experience, personal experience, lifelong experience, I am an entrepreneur as well. I have great respect for that. This is not something that fits in this area. And those are my concerns, along with the letter that I wrote.
Thank you, Robin.
Corey,
Yes,
to clarify, it is a half acre where the actual campground will go,
half acre.
just a half an acre.
At this time, would the applicant like to? That's okay, Ray, thank you. Or not Ray, Rick. At this time, would the applicant like to have any closing statements to the board?
As far as the questions about fencing, we do plan to fence the area and have gates to control the access into the park. We also set up wrote up some rules of stipulating a quiet time, 8 to 10 p.m. 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. That would be on leashes or in the RVs during the night. And, any park user being disruptive to other persons shall be requested to leave immediately park. Very similar to rules to what any other RV park would have. And as far as the length of time, it would be very short. Like I said, up to 7 days. Want to be a good host, but then I'm ready to send them on their way too.
Make a motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Motion a second. This time, can we go to the staff report then?
So I submitted a written staff report in your packets there for you, but at this time, our recommendation is to deny the application for the campground. And on the following finding of fact is that the subject property is in the Class AR agricultural district, but the parcel really is inadequate in size, shape, or access to handle the intensity of the use. There wasn't any, type of engineering site plan put in there that we showed, but I think that trying to get emergency vehicle access in and out of there, all of that will be a big challenge, especially once you put the campsites in.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. We're gonna move into board discussion. We have 12. That's the state, I believe.
So, for discussion, so campgrounds are allowed in AR.
Like conditional use, yes.
Yes, okay. But I understand, I'm
So I have some questions that everyone asked. Would you have an on-site superintendent when people are there? When you have campers on site, would there be an on-site superintendent 24 hours a day?
Oh, my wife is there during the day and then after work, I'm there in the evenings.
Would you be on the property or are you on an adjacent property?
Yeah, our house is right next door.
237.
But not on the same parcel with the campground. And noise control, I think you said 10 PM to 8 AM. And water, but no sewer and electric now, is that correct? And I can't tell from looking at it on Beacon, there looks like there might be some structures, but you know, my first thought was also a weather shelter for these people to go to.
We had not. And anything before. And thought about
Good questions.
I think we should deny it for the reasons that Matt stated. It just doesn't fit there. I don't see how it's gonna work there. But I want to make this comment. I mean, we've been talking about campgrounds a lot in our zoning. If this is allowed in our zoning, it's hard to go to before the zoning committee and say deny it when they do it, when they have a good plan, they can do everything and make it fit. I think a lot of people don't understand that you have to go to our board to change our zoning in order to deal with a lot of these campground issues. And I don't want to get into all the issues, but it's pretty tough for our board. We've done this, you know, we have a lot of people, you know, I've been in it a long time. People come and want us to deny something that's legal in our county that our Board of Supervisors created, the Planning and Zoning Commission that they worked with the board on. And it's very easy for us to get sued. If we deny something, they come back and sue, well, this is legal, they're gonna still get it. So my point is, and there's a lot of people here concerned about campgrounds, we need to take our concerns to the Board of Supervisors and maybe change our zoning. We can do that. We got a Planning and Zoning Committee. We got a Board of Supervisors that have the power to do it. That's my comment. Thank you.
I'd like to touch on that quick, Pat, and I'm sure we can talk about it in the next one as well. But I think it's important to remember that not only can the property owner who gets their conditional use permit denied sue us, but so can the property owners around it if the conditional use permit gets granted. If you've seen that is going on right now. So, I mean, it goes both ways. There is obviously zoning set by the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Supervisors, but the real case-by-case scenario is where it matters. It's the case-by-case situation. We can't create an ordinance that covers everything. But I just want to clarify that, and that's ultimately why the Zoning Board of Adjustment is here. But in terms of lawsuits, it can go both ways.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Jack. So with public or with the board discussion right now, I think it looks like we're leaning on the deny side of it. I believe that if a person comes back and looks at this as a little bit more detailed business with a larger parcel area, or something like that, it could be entertained. But at the size that we're looking at right now, I mean, I think it's awfully small.
Well, and for me, the weather shelter is a big thing. Weather shelter, security lighting out there, what's that gonna do to the, I won't say ambiance, but to the culture of the area?
Jeff, do you have anything to say? Nope. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to deny the application.
I'll second.
We have a motion. Pat to deny the application, and a second from Heather. Can I get a roll call, please?
Collins,
Yes to deny.
Renee.
I wasn't sure either.
Well, trying to be clear.
Nay.
Gentlemen, nay. Evans,
Nay. Thank you.
I didn't.
We have the second. I'm gonna take a brief recess while Heather, she needs a little bit of time.
Could be one of the minimum. Not that different.
So that's like,
Yeah.
In our noble.
Minutes.
sorry, Matt, the new piece, and then I had a piece. I sat there and I looked at that for a little bit. I had, then I thought. "Oh, write it down."
No, second eye, but.
It's June 7th. That was listed.
No, I want to ask you a question. Yeah.
One way to meet your neighbors. Yeah.
You know, this one.
I know, right?
So look.
Right. No, it's not a poll.
I mean,
It's because the drivers are so.
Part of the mess. Nice to meet you.
Sewer. Electrical. But I'm also.
Sure, either way, it looks
Read it all in letters, right?
She said that. Yeah, she went down this. Which is where we're probably gonna go to and find them.
I appreciate that.
Oh.
That's okay, that's okay. Everybody does have to. So that's all.
Till those trees.
Take care. Thank you.
So, the intentions, what seems like it would be. Running spots that just turn to the. Workers coming in.
But I'm saying.
It would be tied to this damn board. This is, that was new.
As soon as I see.
Take care. Thank you. Michelle. Hi. Always talk about. Good to meet you. Always talk about. You know why? Is it? And she, no, it's good. She lives right there, but he's gonna put a face to the name. Oh, yeah.
Too, but now he can.
I do. The smoke runs in the brown.
Okay, we're gonna get started back up here. We can resume. The second item up for business tonight is the review of the conditional use permit 24-199. It's a campground located at 20424 Ingram Avenue, Pacific Junction, in Platteville Township in the Ag Residential Zone. Matt's gonna walk us kind of through this.
So in your packets there. You all have a timeline in your
We do.
packets that came along with there. So, Mr. Lincoln came before the zoning board of adjustment. Received a conditional use permit to have his campground down there off Highway 34, serious people, and it go up now. And in that time, we received a complaint in March that campers down there, and so I had emailed to Mr. Lincoln just to say, hey, you know, we still have a couple of conditions that haven't been met yet, and wanted to make sure that we got to those conditions before it opened up. And so he was just doing a test run on it at that time. Emailed back and forth a couple things just to make sure that we were going to meet those conditions, the fire chief, the screening barriers and things like that. So during that time, then he was submitted a kind of a formal complaint, okay, the campground is up and operating, and the conditions aren't met yet. So that's why just said tonight, you know, let's have a formal review of it with Mr. Lincoln and go through and make sure that we are all aware of complaints from the neighbors and the conditions of the permit.
Okay. There's not really an agenda on this, Matt. Do I ask for the opposition to come and speak about it, or do we just go through this as a board session?
Well, I think it'd probably be best if you had Mr. Lincoln come up and maybe his version of his events. You can follow.
Okay. Okay, if the applicant would kind of join us, give us kind of a little bit of a synopsis of where you're at with your conditional use permit.
Campground night.
Yes.
Well, I believe just based on my letter that I got, and we can address them in any number of ways. I think the main one may be time frame, possibly. So I got a little packet that I gave you guys, they're just emails that I had. This one goes back to 10/31. The first one, I think maybe the trees were planted at that time, the concrete, and I was just trying to find out some things that needed to happen on how to go forward, and if I needed permission. This is where I spoke with Matt, and he said, I just need to make sure I've met all those conditions prior to opening. That was clear back in October. At that time, I hadn't talked to the sheriff's department. I had was still working on my application through the DNR, part of the floodplain stuff. All in my lease, everybody has to sign up for emergency management because we don't have shelter. Got that cleared, got that through the state over the Christmas time. Not a great time to open. Had all the water running, and so in March I still hadn't got Matt Gray's approval and what I found out was called a buffer zone. I planted the trees for a windbreak, eye block, whatever you want to call it. And so I had restaurants having my head what's called a soft opening. Had a gentleman from Texas up. I text Matt to let him know he was going to be there, basically to ask permission or to have him tell me no. He stayed there for a couple weeks free of charge, and he travels quite a bit. He's construction, and I wanted him to give me his pointers, goods and bads of my campground. My water sucks, pressure's good, and I need to put fill dirt around my concrete. It's what I got another 2 weeks. He thanked me and left. I actually did have another person
come in for 4 days, which supposedly they were free as well, which supposedly had the sheriff call on them. I'm not sure if that was true or not. I never did ask Greg, and I removed them the next day. That's also in here. So page 2 on the 27th of March, in my mind, I'd like to try to open April 1st. I have some people that's been calling. Matt tells me he needs to hear from Matt Gray. And then we have a couple other requirements. Landscaping was not finished, that I needed shrubs planted between the trees. Audra had suggested high bush cranberry or a 9-bark. So on the 27th, I got to work on that. I talked to Matt Gray. Matt Gray reached out on the 30th, which is the next page, which checked that box. I called around. You can see how awesome my spelling is in this email. Mall Halls and Land Hee Haw. I talked to them, talked to some other nurseries. Most of these nurseries, we're not going to have any of those types of shrubs until end of April. I did find somebody eventually and got them bought. On the bottom of that page, you can see what I included out that one camper. BCB Landscaping had them. I got the invoice and went to look at it. It's exactly what was asked for. 9-bark. I bought 15 of them, placed them in between all the trees, which I learned is what's called a buffer zone. So we have that facing Mendenhall, and then on the south side as well, up until the shed, and then where the road raises. So there's no, even from Jeff's house, I don't know that he can see it. Or when the trees get big, he won't be able to see it. And all that was done. The shrubs were there early in April. I don't know if I exactly have that date. We had a week of rain, as I'll let you see in one of the pictures. And then they were installed that first week of April, which I did have people in early April. I don't have enough room. I didn't want to run all in that furnace. Jack, you already got this. But that relates, and it'll come up later on the knocking on the door, I think was another complaint. But so time frame wise, there was probably less than 7 days. The plants were on site. I did have people start paying April 1st. So there was maybe a week there where I officially had, I think, 2 people originally until about the 13th of April, maybe around the 10th. So there was about a week lag there. But as you can see, I was in constant communication with Matt, asking questions, updating him on where I was at, just looking for any possible issues. So that's kind of the time frame. Does anybody have any questions on the time frame? I can go on to some of the other issues that were noted, or at least that's my view of the time frame.
Questions for the time frame?
No questions on the time frame. Do you guys have any questions on the time frame?
No. There was a Facebook post you made on your Facebook page for the campsite.
Barnyard.
Yep, that then linked to a website that said the campsite was available March 18th. And it said the campsite was open. So was that a test run, or was the campsite actually open? Because according to your website, it was open on March 18th.
Right. Well, and you can ask anybody. There was nobody there. The guy that was there was free, didn't pay a dime. I made Matt aware of that. I looked for his name, and I will find it. I didn't look hard enough, but he didn't pay. My Build'em site was not set up, which is what Nate Lincoln uses. I ended up getting out of that. I just went back to Square because I only have 7 spots currently. But originally, the only reason I put anything on my other campsites page was because in order to advertise through Google, you have to have it tied into to get that free advertisement where it puts it on the map and all that stuff. And honestly, I get calls all the time, even previous to having the campground open. So it may have said that, possibly. We were not taking any money and didn't take any money to that first gentleman. I think his name was Barris or Burris. He's still there in spot 3.
What was the exact dates that you only had that one person there?
I think it might have even been earlier. So the guy from Texas was there, I think, for a couple of weeks in that mid-March timeframe. Okay. And then he was gone, and I had another lady call who didn't pay, and I think she was only there a couple days. And I believe Rod was the one, I don't know how long she was there, Rod would know better. A couple days, and then supposedly the sheriff was there. And I went down and locked her out and kicked her out immediately, because obviously, even if it's free, if there's an issue there. I think we talked about, having a higher level of clientele if possible there. Since then, I've had the same, pretty much, I've had 8 people in there. The one guy we'll talk about who moved out in the middle of the night due to a family emergency, had the same 7 workers there the entire time since. Everybody that's moved in stayed. I think it's turned out, as far as filled up right away. All the guys seem above board. I haven't had any issues with them. I haven't had any direct complaints, although, Mr. Mendenhall doesn't talk to me about them. Most complaints have been about the campground features or lighting or whatever. I haven't had many noise complaints, speed complaints. Some of the things that we talked about would be a concern last year when I came to get the permit. So to me, it seems good. I did install a security camera down there. I can have 5 extra users. So Matt and Jack, you guys have to thumb wrestle to see who gets that 5th if you let them, but you can log on anytime, look at its 360 view, night vision, you can hear out of it. So if somebody would call me with a concern, from the communication where I'm at, I can bring that camera up and address the issue. I haven't had any issues brought to me about my current group of people. I think they're doing great. If you drive by, I've had lots of compliments on the campground, how good it looks from the road anyway. It's clean. They're not junky. There's a trash service there. There's a dumpster where they can put it in. I got a kid that goes down there every week to mow, pick up trash in the ditch. We haven't got up towards 34 yet. We mow the entire property clear over to the creek, which hadn't been done for years, since Mom had cattle grazing in that. So, our expectations is to try to make our neighbors happy. Those 7 guys are using, you're a supervisor, you understand this. They're going to Hobbies, they're using the laundromat, they're going to Russ's, they're buying gas here. They're spending money in this community, and I'm doing everything in my power to make the people that are unhappy about it happy about it. And I think if we look at the rest, we go to these next sections, you'll see it. You and I discussed it when you got a complaint about somebody knocking on his door, which I think that would suck. So this is one of the complaints that is registered. So of course, Mr. Mendenhall lives right next to the campground, right? The same, we had some complaints. Some of these people worried about people wandering around. Something that I'd never thought about. Somebody went up and knocked on his door, maybe multiple people, I'm not sure. Well, he had went to Jack. I didn't find out about it. I found out about it through Matt. And so I called Jack, and that same day I had a sign ordered from Fast Signs in Council Bluffs, and in less than a week, I had it up. And as you can see on the main sign there, it's nice big letters with my phone number. It says, "Do not disturb the residents." So, for the most part, I'm doing everything I can to keep the people that are unhappy about it happy or happier. So if any other questions on the timeline, Jack? So I'm not denying the website says that, but I didn't take any money until after the 1st of April. And actually, honestly, it was probably the end of April because my building site wasn't in form square. So that was just poor management on me. So a second complaint, Rodney had a legitimate complaint. I know he sent pictures. His email is included in here. And I get it, is the video ready to go on there? Okay. So he had light shining. Have you guys all seen the pictures? Yes. I've all seen it, right? So this gentleman, as you'll see, had a family emergency. He was up here to work all summer, pulled out in the middle of the night. We don't have lights there. We have no farm lights. We have no lights at the spots. The reason is to try to keep it as dark as possible for the surrounding residents, even though other residences on this same road have farm lights. We used to have farm lights back when we had cattle there, by the way, that were never an issue. So the one night was a problem. But if you look on a normal night, at the end. This is big. I'll bet you that red Ford's nothing to mark. Almost every time you pull that camera, and that's what's gonna look. No, that doesn't mean that that didn't happen tonight, because it did. I got a reason for that right there. It's gone out. So maybe because of the camera, they're gonna see hands and red camera, right? It's not. Right, it's camera versatility. What you see, he has plugged into that camper in the pictures that Rodney gave you, right? So it is an inconvenience, and there's not much I can do about that, but I think that 20 minutes or however long it took him to get going is still better than having farm lights out there or LEDs or anything else. So that is the lighting complaint. I think we already mentioned the sign, the do not disturb. I have the rule posted on there. So everybody knows the rule. I don't think we've had any issues with the rules as far as that goes. You know, and you know, on the very last, I guess for me, is it seems like maybe it's a line of sight issue. I don't know how fast those trees are going to grow, and I bought the biggest possible 9 mark known to humans. They're 5 gallons. I don't, unless Corey could tell me if there's something different, but you know, it's going to take a couple years for those. They're supposed to be 5 by 5, by the way, and the trees that I planted are supposed to be 14 foot, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. So I don't know what's going to keep Mr. Mendenhall happy, but I would like to figure out something. So I've included a couple options. You know, there's a fence. American Fence gave me a quote that I put at the very back. They also make screens that can go on the existing fence. I don't know how much light, you know, the screen would reflect, or if it'd be an issue with the wind, but those are a couple options of things to try. Like I said, if he could just talk to me and we could, you know, he could tell me what the problem is and I could figure it out, I'd figure it out. That's not what we're doing. We're coming to meetings and talking to people. So do you have any other questions over the stuff that was on there?
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna ask Corey from the tree aspect. Is there a concern with planting all of them too close together and they could kill each other out? I mean, it's great you went and, you know,
I'd be more than happy to plant more trees. I only had one die over winter, which is, you know, I guess I would talk to the tree person.
That's why I was gonna ask it, but
we can certainly put, if trees is where we want to go, like I said, if you guys look at our body of work over the last 6 months, you know, and where we've come, engineered drawings, concrete pads, it obviously works, right? We're full, it's clean. We're trying to seed. I mean, it doesn't look even close as good as I like to have it look, but you know, we're trying. I don't think anything's been brought to me that we've said we wouldn't do or have tried to do. So I don't care what it is, just it'd be nice to find the answer so we don't have to keep looking at each other every 3 months because something isn't right. Like, you know, if Greg was there every night, you know, or I was getting text messages that I wasn't answering or wasn't making attempts to do, 100% understand where somebody would be angry or mad, right? 100% understand that. But there's got to be something that we can try. I don't care if it's trees, I don't care if it's fence, if it's line of sight, you know.
I got a couple questions. So when the trees die, you'll replace the ones that die?
I haven't yet. I just talked to the guy. It was the weather hasn't been good enough to replace.
I drove by there today, and my concern is, you know, there's really no screening right now.
Mm-hmm.
You can look from the camper to the neighbor's window right now. So I'm just gonna say what I feel right away. It might be out of order. I don't know. I think you should put another fence up there. And it doesn't have to go all the way to the highway. It doesn't have to go all the way back. Just strategically placed so a camper can't look into the neighbor's house. And if I was there, that's kind of what I wanted, the way I looked at it. I can see the tree screening is gonna work, but it's gonna take a few years. The fence is right there, and also the light. Nobody should have a bright enough light that affects your neighbor. I don't think that's the case, because you explained that's not the case. So I think all your conditions are basically met.
Is that a 6-foot fence
I'd say at least 6. If it requires a little more than that, I mean, who says the fence can't be that far off the ground? We're looking about a line of sight screening. We don't care about keeping critters out, you know, I think that would solve a lot of problems.
So how high are you wanting this fence to go?
I don't think it needs to be that high, just, I can't say for sure.
So when you said you drove down
Yeah.
from 34, or did you go?
No, I drove right
around?
into camp. I drove right into
Okay.
camp.
Cause I did the same thing.
Okay,
I
what do you
drove
think?
down, drove down and around there. You know, it was as the leaves were starting to pop out. So it was starting, you know, leaves on the trees were starting to form. So that was kind of helping. I do agree. A fence would probably be a good option. I was thinking, man, if we would have left the berm up a little higher instead of the height that we originally sent, that would help also as the trees were growing, instead of waiting until the trees get fully matured. But I agree, I mean, you have done a nice job. It's a nice area down there.
Well, it's working and we're trying. And like I said,
Right,
there's nothing
yeah.
you guys have asked us to do that we haven't done.
Jeff, do you have any discussion?
I agree with Pat. I think something like a fence put up immediately would, you know, rather than waiting, I don't know what it said in the permit, but like 2 years, it would be at least 6 foot tall fences right now.
Well, like I said, I called American Fence, got me that estimate in
It's a
3
6 foot tall
days.
fence.
So
It is something you'd have to determine how high it be, so the guy sitting in the camper can't look over the top of it.
and that's not my determination. That'll be somebody else's determination, but
This is kind of out of line, but I kind of want to ask our sheriff while he's here. What's the policy in campgrounds when, say, someone sees someone do something unlawful and they go in this campground? And you call the sheriff, how do they know who that is? And you could provide a list to the sheriff of everyone that's there?
well, in my other campground experience, that isn't nearly as.
I'm talking even the one, this is like all campgrounds, the one down on 29, you know,
But most everything is gonna have a license plate on it. The only exception would be is if it's a brand new camper trailer that doesn't. And even then, it should have an in-transit sticker on it identifying the owner. There's also, you know, the VIN tag that you should be able to run to get who the registered owner would be. I would assume, and I apologize, Clay, I was not prepared to answer the question of whether or not we've been called down. So I'm not aware. Well, I could have asked, but it didn't matter. I kicked her out.
I mean, do you get a list of people that are in the campground at 29 or any campground?
No.
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 So if you have a problem with the campground, you have to call the owner and then go from there?
Well, the first thing we're gonna do when we get there is see if we can determine who it is just by the fact that their seats are still there, or run the license plate on the camper or the pickup beside it. But we have provided them with the camera feed.
Yeah, if somebody asked me that, I didn't know what to tell them.
That would probably be our first avenue. And having worked with Clay at the other campground, it's never been an issue to get a hold of him, to find out. He's given us the code to the one down on the river. So he's been very cooperative.
What do you think the people that say, oh, criminals can come in campground and no one knows who they are or what they're doing? It's a good place for a hideout.
My neighbor too.
I'm sorry?
So it could be my neighbor too, for all I know.
Okay.
No, I guess we're not allowed to profile. So it's hard for me to profile on somebody who runs a camper. I don't know that I could make a last statement. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, along with not profiling, Amazon using these third-party people to deliver packages, there's been shady people show up at my house that I've been questioned about. I mean, you can't.
You guys, I'm sure could call me.
I didn't know.
Call me back up. I think
Yeah.
Ron probably wants to talk.
Yep, at this time, we're gonna go into public comment. Thank you.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah, me to get off track there, Corey, sorry.
My name is Rodney Mendenhall. I live at 20394 Ingraham, whatever you want to call it. Been Ingram my 35 years of my life that I lived in this house. I've known Clay my whole life, knew his mother, great gal, rest in peace. As far as the complaints, it says right here, number 10, section 2, conditions on the approval permit, landscape berm, and your exact words were an earthen berm was supposed to be built. And due to your guys' negligence not allowing this, allowing the dirt to be hauled in, my basement. Before he put his, you guys have seen the slideshow that I sent, right?
I have a slideshow.
Before he put his little dirt berm along the fence that's gonna rot the fence out because it's covering the fence. That's the amount of dirt that was hauled in. That is not minor grading by any means, from what I understand. When the dozer and Traco have to come in and knock, I don't know how many loads of dirt they hauled in from office. There's water in my basement. I have timestamps on all this. There's my driveway being blocked so I can, I'm a farmer. I haul skid steers around. I drive tractors in and out of my driveway. Not all the time, but frequently. And then he's only allowed 7 sites for his first go round, but he has plumbed in for 13, which is over his permit. From what I understand, have been told by his dev. And as far as there's the berm that he put up, that's not per zoning regulations ordinance. Says right here that the proposed use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity. I can't go in my yard. I got guys standing out in their door of their camper with their hands down their pants. I mean, I have no privacy. I'm not going to say I've had problems with anybody there because they glare at me, but I don't talk to anybody. I'm a sole person. My fiance lives with me. We've had people knock on the door. Random cars drive down in the road. I think one was probably you, actually. As far as the light issue, that was March 9th. That camper pulled in at 12:07 p.m. because I called Matt on it, and he told me that no camper should be there. If you're going to have a test run, use your own camper. Go out, pull the hydrant, plug a power tool into the electrical, see if it's working. That's the night the cops were there. It's kind of tough to see. That's the first pictures when they pulled in the first camper, but 4 o'clock in the morning, that U-Haul, actually it was 3:50, that U-Haul blew past my window. I live on the south side of my house. My house is from where I'm standing to probably 5 foot past that wall. I hear every crick and cranny that goes past my house. And then all of a sudden, 2 more vehicles blow past my house, speed. They didn't have lights on, but it woke me up. I don't remember what exactly day that was, but he's had campers there consistently from March 9th. I have an email here that says all the conditions have to be met before it is used. That is straight from him. There is not a landscape berm anywhere to be seen. There's some trees, and I understand it takes 3 or 4 years for them to grow. Now, the light issue, I understand people have to set up their campers, but that's a bit ridiculous. And I know those pictures are hard to see. And he's going to tell you that that is not it. They were 30 minutes. Okay. All night is not 30 minutes. And then this photo, I believe, is the first camper that was there. And that's how bright his lights were. And they were left on 24/7 the whole time he was there. Yes, I know my neighbors have a light on their shed. That doesn't bother me. It's blocked by their house and the trees. And I don't need that. If any other business were to come to you guys and need a permit to do something in open, and their permits weren't all fulfilled, you wouldn't let them open. Wouldn't let them all done. Also, the zoning board was implemented to protect what's happening to situations like this, but it's allowed, and I understand. entrepreneurial, do stuff. Yeah, can't get in my yard. Yeah, the guy with his hands down his pants. That was real nice. Flooded basement. We just had a tornado warning. There's no tornado shelter. There's nothing. I don't want people coming knocking on my door. Granted, I would let them in just because I'm not a indecent human like that, but pretty sure I seen a drug deal going on there the other day. Don't know if that has any deal, but our roads are deteriorating faster because there's 14, 15 trucks, not cars, trucks driving up and down the road every day, 4 or 5 times a day. Yeah, and I just don't feel safe at my house anymore. Can't walk out. We can't hardly go out outside without being watched. And yes, again, the whole fact that it does not have a berm for zoning, which is 6 foot earthen berm, 3-to-1 grade. He's had over a year and a half to do this, and I advised Matt that he would get all of his infrastructure in and ask for forgiveness on him, which he did at one point in time. Do that. So you guys are going to tell him to do this stuff. I don't think he's going to do it because he hasn't met his permit yet. Okay.
Ronnie, do you have a picture of the south side of the property? Clay, do you have a picture of the south side of the property?
You mean like down on the road side? I got a live picture.
I mean, there's. Oh.
A nice day for you to have your parents here, huh?
Yeah.
Year and a half. Should be.
I think if you could work on a fence, it's gonna.
You flooded the damn basement.
And the drainage.
Yes, that's why you guys.
All the dirt is coming to us.
Yeah.
And again.
To address the berm for you as far as the Mills County. The peak barrier for Mills County code. Now, we had a meeting, berm was discussed on there. April's meeting comes around. Pat, you came back in with questions about that, pulled the code section. On a peak barrier, there's 4 selections there. You can have, number 1 is a solid wood PVC or masonry fence at least 6 feet in height. You can have a landscaping screen using evergreen or delicious materials capable of providing a substantial peak edge-like barrier and obtaining a minimum height of 6 feet within 3 years of planting. You can have a landscaped earthen berm with a maximum slope of 3-to-1, rising no less than 6 feet above the existing grade of a lot line separating the zoning districts. Number 4 is you can have any combination of these methods that achieves a cumulative height of 6 feet. Now the grading part on there, and we talked about that at the original meeting for the campground. The grading aspect happened, that dirt hauling in happened previous to them even coming in and asking for a conditional use period or use permit for that portion of it did not fall on you all. But one of the pieces that we did have Mr. Lincoln do was to go back to the engineer's office and either obtain or get a copy of his permit for that grading that had already happened on site previous to that, because I remember the conversation about worried about potential contaminated dirt that had been hauled in and things like that. That wasn't associated with the decision on the campground aspect of it. But remember that conversation being had, and permits and everything were taken
Yeah,
care of.
but it says specifically a landscape berm. To me, that is a dirt berm. And I understand it can be with the 6 foot, but you gotta protect property. You cannot run water. You cannot
Divert water.
divert water onto somebody else's property. That's never. But beside that, I forgot this, the sign. It's nice, but the fact that we had to have a locate to put a mailbox in the other day and he had no locates to put that sign in, and that's in the county right away. I think it should be on the property, not in the right of way. I did talk with the engineer. That got me nowhere, imagine that, but so that's just my thoughts. So again, hasn't met us conditions permit, like it's cut and drive, guys.
Question. The applicant provided a grading permit. Doesn't the grading permit address drainage? That's what a grading permit is for, right?
Right, and that was done through the engineer's office for the fill that they did out there.
The engineer did a grading plan. A grading permit, grading plan for drainage. Is that what it's for?
Typically, that is a part of your grading
So
permit, yes.
wouldn't that go on the engineer? The engineer provided a plan to not have flooding in the neighbors.
They provided a plan to the engineer's office, it was reviewed.
And the applicant was supposed to follow that plan.
Pat.
Yep, go ahead, Clay.
Yeah, the entire thing was laid out by Schneider and Associates. They engineered it, Conference built it. There's even a basin, catch extra water on the northwest corner that I think is 24 inches deep, maybe.
So it's waterfall going from your property to your neighbor's property.
Northwest corner, there's a basin. So everything flows down to that, and the grading permit was approved.
The basin was part of the grading permit?
Yep.
You know about
It used to flow that way. You put all the dirt in there.
Real
now-
quick, Rod, real quick, before we get into this back and forth, because I feel this going sideways a little bit. Let's stop the conversation there with the grading plan. Let's just assume that the grading plan was turned into the Mills County engineer, and the Mills County engineer okayed it. Now, Rod, go ahead.
All right, right in your forms for this permit, it says cannot be detrimental to property value. It is. Right there, should have been thrown out. Cannot be a nuisance. It damn sure is. There's 2. And loss of privacy, put a price on it. Because you're probably gonna have to. That's all I got to say.
Is there any additional public comment? This really doesn't run with the staff report, does it, Matt?
But no, there's no staff.
So the way I'm looking at this is you've got the applicant here and you've got the neighbor here. The 2 is like the Hatfield and the Colts. And they're
Not to mention the fact, we don't know who's there. We've had the same neighbors for 30 years. Now you got pedophiles and a bunch of gypsies coming in and out of there all the time. Druggies. Do you want your kids, do you want to live next to that?
Got that in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Well, let's stop.
But you know, you
let's
vote
stop
for it.
back and forth. So you've got the campground, you've got good points made by Rodney about making sure that everything was done prior to the opening of it. We've got some, I guess, a little disagreement on how the 6 foot is supposed to get there, if it was a berm. And I think, Rodney, you're kind of blaming, you're blaming the construction of the site to cause you water problems on at your house.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was,
Flood, during the flood.
and I'm just wanting to get kind of the facts out that, so, looking at the grading plan, probably of the utmost importance, which isn't our deal.
County
engineer
created the grading plan.
No, he didn't create it. He would have looked at it. He would have approved it.
So who created it?
Clay would have had a engineer create.
Engineer create.
Schneider.
Council bus.
Let's knock
Well,
this, let's knock the small ones off a little bit as we go. I mean,
I
and
don't
this,
think we need to get two.
what I mean is,
So
Go
I've got
ahead.
a question. I've got to
Right.
understand. So what are we assigning more conditions? What are we on the hook for now? Because we haven't had, well, I haven't since I've been on, had anything like this where. So what are we on the hook for? Is it more conditions? Is it we recommend they close until all of the above?
So as the board, you have that discretion to either add conditions, subtract conditions. If the board does not feel as though all the conditions are met, you can order them closed until the conditions are met. You can choose to revoke a conditional use permit from them. So there's the options on our side when we go through the process for this on violations. So right in your all's code section of Mills County Code, violations of the conditions or safeguards when made in part of these terms under that is deemed a violation of the ordinance. So we process that as no different than any other violation that we come up on. Initially, we'll send them out a 5-day contact letter, and it's working towards compliance. That's what we're trying to get them to, right? Get them in compliance with the conditional use, get them in compliance with codes, whatever it is. If they don't respond to the conditional use or to the 5-day letter that we send out, then they get a 30-day notice violation. Now, Clay has been responsive every time that I've reached out to him. So he has not received a 5-day contact letter from us or a notice violation because, again, it's working towards compliance. And a lot of people are, they'll say, well, why don't you just cite them? Why don't you just issue that county infraction to them? When you issue a county of infraction to a person for the initial one, $750, right? Plus $85 in court costs. Go to the county attorneys, that court date gets set for at least 30 days out. What normally will happen within that 30 days, that person who got that citation, they get themselves into compliance, right? Because they're like, hey, I'm going to court, I'm either going to get into compliance or, so if they get into compliance and you go up to court that day, the initial hearing, and the county attorneys and everybody, they pull them out, they'll say, they'll ask the staff, where's this at? And you say, well, it's in compliance or it's not in compliance. If it's in compliance, then they'll say, okay, they'll knock out the $750 charge and they're left with $85 in court costs. If they're not in compliance, then a hearing date is then set. That hearing date, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it could be anywhere from 60 to 90 days out before you get a hearing.
That's correct.
So then you go to a hearing, and again, you're during even that time when you got a hearing date set, you're still working towards compliance, right? You're still making contact with them to try to get them into that, and then you go through the court process. The court then issues their order on the subject. That's the way that these work on our side of it. For you all, like I said, you can, I think there were very valid points brought up about the lighting that's going on out there. I would say on the sign issue, conversation that the county engineer had with me was that he said, I don't know if you want to make this. He told the property owner was, I don't know if you want to make the sign issue a deal because your fence is in the right of way. So we both got things down there that are in the right of way. More of a I like the idea that it's a deterrent to say, hey, you need to contact me. Don't be knocking on the neighbor's house. Those steps haven't been being taken. I think the idea of the 6-foot fence, because obviously this opaque barrier is not going to grow fast enough. Be done. I think I'm not fence in there is probably the right way to go. But again, it's up to you guys.
well, really, the number one question is he currently in compliance?
Other than this, I would say that the south end plantings, if you're going to go with the plantings for an opaque barrier, south line of the plant.
We're not hitting that 6-foot barrier between the combination of the two. Okay.
What about the sign? Is the sign in compliance right now?
The sign was not a condition. No,
Okay, but is that legal to be in the right of way?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can make a condition and move the sign back if we want.
But then the neighbor has to move their fence back. if we're gonna go that route.
Possibly, I'd say,
That'd be a different conversation from a different.
But-
Yeah.
Then we're.
so going to Rodney, I mean, just putting it out there. This use is allowed in that area. Fence or landscape berm barrier.
We gotta have something to keep water from going on my property.
Okay, we're gonna address that also, but what does the adjacent neighbor, what would they rather have? Fence or a? Because this is kind of the communication that'd be nice if you guys could have amongst yourselves. But we're gonna try to get it brought out here.
We lost our vision. Now we get to look at Highway 34. You can't look at the hill.
Cows.
Between the two, either a fence to get to that 6-foot barrier.
A fence would have to be higher than 6 foot because a camper door is higher than 6 foot.
Yeah, they're like 14 foot tall.
That's where it was going.
And so when they pull in, they go to the north and they go back to the east. And then when they come out, their headlights are shining right in the windows too.
Put a fence around the whole damn thing. There needs to be a berm around the whole thing.
So you
Because
had
if the
that,
water goes towards the highway, he's got a pond over there. That's just a mosquito trap.
So
we're on the berm, right? We're on the.
I'm trying to figure out what a person would rather.
But when he had that, when Mr. Lincoln had that slide, it had a good view looking at his existing fence and the camper in the background. When you kind of do a rough gauge, it looked to me like a 6 or 8 foot fence would block that. You guys agree with that?
Because when he poured the pads, he actually raised the property up even more, which raised the campers up.
There you go, right
So
there.
a 6 foot berm wouldn't do it either.
Well, the top of those trees right now are what?
The trees are 6 foot.
Trees are 6 foot tall?
Yep.
See, and we're just supposing without being there and having a line of sight.
Well, what he's saying, is if you look at that door of the camper, when you walk out that door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You put 6 foot on top of that fence, it looks like it blocks it. Well, you put, that fence is what, 4 foot now, probably?
Yeah, it's 48 inches.
Right, if you put 4 foot on it, wouldn't that block the view?
You wanna go out there?
No, I'm just asking, I mean,
Whose fence is that? Is that on Clay's or your guys' property?
I actually think if you look at the beacon, it is on the property.
all we can try to do is try to make it work for both parties. I mean, like Corey said, that's legal to have that campground. Our county supervisors approved it and our zoning official approved it. But we can do conditions to help the neighbors. That's all we can do. We can't deny it. No.
Yeah, you can. We can deny it. I mean,
Under what condition?
things get denied all the time, Pat. I mean, we just had a further applicant just before this that got denied. We have them all the time. We had one just a few months ago. So things can be denied. But I want to go back to the conditions. Is there any problem with the fact that this says the sites will be limited to 7 and there are not 7 sites? Is that any issue?
There's 7 sites.
There's 7 sites.
There's more sites than
more.
7 sites.
The conditional is 7
7.
that we
The
set.
conditional use
7
permit
sites.
says there will be 7 sites. There's not 7 sites there. There's more than 7 sites.
How many sites are there?
There's only 7. I have to be able to water the grass, so I have multiple Iowa hydrants out there. There's no other power, there's no drives, there's no concrete pads. There's just water that runs across it.
Yeah, and I had talked, so this got brought up in the beginning when he was out there, because I met Rodney and his dad out there on site, and there's nothing that he could go and install that infrastructure. He could have put water lines all over that underneath that property, like the way that it's done. And if it's not being used, then it's not associated with this. So I understand, they're like, hey, the infrastructure is there. And that's fine for somebody to go put infrastructure on their property. It doesn't mean that they're gonna have to be allowed to use it. But
So you could build 20 sites and then only use 7 of them. But I mean, let's say it has the pad, has the water, has the power. He could put in 20 and then only use 7 at a time.
Well, I think
that's what you're saying. That's
no,
okay.
no, the water and things like that are there. I think if he was setting up campsites, we would have issue with that.
The concrete pads and the
Yeah.
infrastructure.
Well, but there's nothing saying that you can't just camp on a non-concrete pad. I do it all the time. You don't have to have a concrete pad, it's camp.
Yeah, but
I'm saying.
are we driving down the road right now?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We said, the applicant says there's 7 there.
There's
There's
7,
nobody else that's came in and said that there could be more than 7. So I'd say we just.
like
leave
that
alone.
says from there, but
Um,
he's got 7 now.
I'm going back to the fence or a berm with trees on it. And I understand that I think you've got an applicant that's willing to do something different to make it more appealing to you as much as it can be.
Hard when you've lived there for 35 years, your cows were your neighbors for 35 years, and all of a sudden your whole life gets, it's like moving to a whole nother state. You got cars flying by your house all times of night during the day.
Who wants a campground next to their house?
I mean,
it shouldn't have never been passed to begin with. You folks let it go.
I wouldn't want to live next to you.
Please stop, guys.
Shit outside either, but
Guys.
people do.
Guys, let's stop for a second. Let's stop.
just leave.
You're not helping your case.
But yeah, it's, I don't, the other thing is the Mills County Code says you have to have 5 acres to have a campground. There's not 5 acres there.
I haven't found it anywhere in Mills County Code.
And if you count the land across the way and back where it all connects,
There is a section.
On page 50 of chapter 25, the minimum lot size for a commercial or industrial lot should be 5 acres.
It's a conditional use. It's not. That's the difference, I guess, between, they didn't come in and ask for a rezoning of the property. They came in and asked for conditional use on the property. And that's the only thing that I found in there. And it says, so if you look at our table 4.20 development criteria for the zoning districts, you have minimum lot size for non-residential. If you're in the AG agricultural zoning district, that's 5 acres. If you're in the AR, then that's 2 acres.
That's AR.
So we're in compliance. We've got problems with lighting. We have problems with the screening, and we have problems with water. So the problem with the grading issue is gonna have to go, that's gonna be an issue. It needs to go back to the Mills County engineer, because that is a board that we have nothing to do with.
Can I ask a question
Go
about
ahead.
that? So your engineer that created that grading plan, didn't he create it so drainage would not go on the neighbor's property? Isn't that the purpose of the grading plan?
and he went to college to do it and.
Well, just simplistic, it sounds to me like he didn't do his job.
Right.
So it kind of goes back to your engineer, contractor, whoever created that grading plan.
But
They
Mills
didn't do the
County engineer
grading plan
approved it.
correct.
But the Mills County engineer approved it.
Yeah, therein lies the problem. Who's liable? I'd say the guy that you hired to give you an adequate, complete grading plan didn't do his job if it's flooding the neighbor. I mean, that's a simplistic view.
Have a condition that it goes back to the Mills.
It wasn't flooding before.
On the
That's why
grading
you
plan,
have
just to make-
grading
just to
plans.
make sure the
That
grading
doesn't
plan is
happen.
adequate.
Unless I'm way off track, but. And why did our county engineer approve it? Yeah.
And then I'd still like to somehow get some type of a answer on fence or landscape berm. Clay, what would you rather put up?
I don't care in the least bit. We'll start on one or the other tomorrow. But I would like whatever it is to be whatever it is. You know, I don't want to come back in 6 months and be like, shit, we should have got a berm. Man, we should have got a fence.
My question, if you do a berm, isn't it going to affect all the trees and shrubs you've already planted? Because that's on.
Yeah, it will. And it will also, 6-foot berm, water's gonna run off that berm towards their house. So I personally, regardless, they might be getting water. It's hard to believe that engineered plans done by a professional company approved by the county engineer that my campground's causing water. If it does, I don't believe a berm is gonna help that whatsoever. I think it'll hurt it. But that, again, I would just like them to say if they want a fence or a berm, and we'll start on either one.
I think a
Well,
good
now
answer.
I'm gonna be against my fence.
I think a good answer would be a fence. And I think maybe our zoning official could go out there and help determine the right height. It's over 6 foot, it could be 8 foot. You know, just so your campers can't look into the neighbor's house. That's what we're thinking,
Thought, but
right?
it's probably not gonna go over well. Since that,
Sorry?
I said, here's a thought, but it's not gonna go over well at all. So you've got that 4-foot fence there, even though it's on your guys' property. What if there's a potential to put 6 foot on top of that fence?
Do a new fence.
My fence is gonna stay right where it's at.
Well, no, leave it there. Just Clay can add a fence on top of it.
It's his property.
Then the wind's gonna blow it over.
God, I don't wanna touch that.
It'd have to
Wind's
be a
gonna
new
blow
fence.
dirt.
Okay, so
Have to
we,
be a new
yeah,
fence.
let's,
Zoning officials could help. determine
one
how
other
far it
thing.
needs to go north and south. I mean, it doesn't need to go all the way south to the end of the property because there's nothing there. Doesn't need to go all the way north to 34 right away because there's nothing to see there.
you know,
I don't know.
No.
Come up with an answer that'll work.
I believe the fence is a better solution than the tree.
I agree. We'll cut the noise.
So. So I'd say the fence, I think that a person,
But you can't determine height until maybe our zoning official.
well, there is a zoning height.
No, there's no maximum height, right?
There's a minimum height. There's
Yeah,
6 feet.
well, we know it's gonna be at least 6. I'm saying it might be 8 foot, right?
I understand what you mean by the sight line of.
Well, the sight line of sight.
It's gonna drop by the time you get over there. I'm sure it probably would be around the 8-foot mark.
So you think a fence is gonna stop the water from coming on me?
No, we're just talking about the screening. The grading is another issue. I think the grading plan did not do their job and our county did not do our job by approving it. If it's flooding the neighbor. And he showed his basement, apparently it is.
So my two conditions,
The neighbors, if they prefer on a berm or a fence.
I'm trying to get the two of those to,
I mean, we're a neighbor to the south.
Technically, there was supposed to be a
Away
berm
from
on the
the
south
berm.
side.
you prefer the berm.
Yeah, and that's not there at all.
So on the original, application,
The
was
conditions only say, oh, it does say the south side.
It says west and south.
This is what's,
East and south. On the south side, there's a watershed.
And there's nothing there.
is on the south side of their trees?
No.
There's nothing that's.
There is trees before the road. The road gradually grades up towards the dead end bridge. So the grade is, like the grade to Rodney's house is flat. So we put trees up and as the grade moves, that moves up.
outside from the fence.
And like I said, you can look at it, that grade moves up, so you can see the tree down there to the left by the shed. And then we got the tree to the other side of the shed. And then basically the road is above your head.
That's on the.
Cause they hauled in dirt to raise the shed
It's
up.
on the east side. That's not on the south side.
Can somebody show me like the beacon picture of it?
Are you counting I guess the county road as your own berm? That's my question. If you just put the
Well,
tree.
originally we talked about it, the berm was a 6-foot line of sight block was the idea. My understanding from the original meeting, whenever that was. So our idea was and I think the purpose of the berm, to my understanding, was for that. Because originally we talked about fencing, we talked about windbreaks. And that's when the berm was brought up to have a 6-foot, like we talked about earlier, there's multiple options of how you get that, whatever the category is. So ours were the trees.
This is south.
Line of sight, I guess, was
Your understanding.
in my thought process.
Yeah, and in our original on number 10, landscaper, we constructed on the west and south sides of property in accordance with landscape requirements of Mills County zoning ordinance.
And Matt, you mentioned that you didn't think that the south side of the property was in compliance with the conditional use permit as it presently is.
Correct.
The pine trees on the east side.
Right, yes.
You get
This
that.
is, no, I'm saying this view right here, where you're looking down the road, that's the south side.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. Where the sign's at? Right here.
Yeah, because that's the bridge.
Okay.
That's out.
You know, I remember the water talk at the original meeting. You guys they talked about, worried about flooding. I do remember that part of it. And I think that's what the talk about a 6-foot dirt wall there was, to help prevent the Mendenhalls from getting flooded. And I do remember that when they were, here originally. I was here originally and today. And that's what I do remember. I don't know if that was changed, but it probably wasn't put in like what you talked about at the meeting, because I do remember.
I think it's just one of the 4 items, and they chose one of the 4, either a landscape berm, a tree berm, a combination of the 2, or a fence.
But that's still what the water issue was talked about.
Yeah. Yeah, Dave, I kind of remember that also.
Now, I mean, that's what I remember, but that's just my.
So we've got a fence. I feel like I'm at a buffet. We got a fence on one side and a berm on the other side, is what we're looking at. We don't have anything on the south side currently. Clay, do you have any opposition to putting anything on the south side?
No, we already started the yard buffer.
Barrier, yeah.
Yeah,
Barrier.
yeah, we got, so there's 3 trees total and 2 of those 9 marks there. But if it's for the same purpose as the one, between Mendenhalls, we need to do something different. We need to add more trees. And then is it a height issue, are the trees tall enough? Right about where that power pole is, there's a drop of probably, I don't know, foot or 2, Jeff, maybe. Yeah. And so those trees, obviously, the one tree looks great because it's up basically on the roadway. It's a ditch tree. But then the ones we planted, as you can see, they're 6 foot, but there's 10 or 12 foot difference. And it's going to take a while for those to grow up. So my question would be, where do I plant them? If we're planting trees, do we plant windbreak? Because that's going to be faster than letting those 9 marks come up, because that's going to take a while, even though they're 5 foot by 5 foot. But a 5 foot by 5 foot there is still going to be able to see over it. And then you guys want me to continue the windbreak all the way to the levee, even though, in some places it's going to be like when you get past that shed, you're at, 4 or 5 feet. By the time you get to the end, you're closer to 15 feet. I just need, the last time, obviously, there were some gray areas.
Okay, so
I would just like to be like,
gray
hey,
areas.
this is what we want, this is what we need, do this.
We're doing a fence on the west side and a berm is what feels like is under control.
Need a berm on both sides.
Landscape berm then?
Need a berm.
I'm sorry, Rod.
You need a berm on the south and west sides. Clear through his driveway, you gotta have a berm because the water comes right through the driveway, right into our house.
I'm trying to get.
Take a field trip.
Mhm.
To look at.
Well, I don't know why we need to, I understand why we could go look at it, but we've got people asking.
Go out there, Corey, look at it.
What does the board want to do?
What was I have a question for Matt. What was your discussion with Clay about getting the conditions met, what the process was after the conditions were met, and then when he could open? What was your discussion over the last, few months?
That once he had the conditions met, give me a call. We'd walk through them all, make sure that they're met, and get the okay to open.
Did you ever give him a call, Clay, and have him come out and give you the okay to open?
We never met in person, but I think I probably all the text and emailed him to a point where I was worried about wasting his time, right? So you have seen a few of the emails that we've exchanged, right? Well, we've also had text messages. I tried not to call him, any more than needed. And if you look, we had the 9 marks and the Matt Gray's letter, which I had already talked to Matt. It just took him a little bit, obviously, to officially email Matt White. And when those were met, we didn't have any more conditions. And that gets you right into that early April when we had actual customers move in.
You never did give him the okay to open.
No, you can see in that last email where I mentioned the south side, that was the last thing I said to him, like, don't forget about that south side.
The south side is where you have 3 trees, is what you're saying right now.
And 2 9 marks.
Did you ever warn Clay about what the possible repercussions would be if the conditions weren't met and then the site was open?
I warned him, I said, you want to make sure you get those conditions met because you're putting yourself at risk about being called back in front of something for adjustment.
And it was just being called back for the zoning board of adjustment. There wasn't any more conditions or anything like that. You just said your efforts being have to come back to another meeting.
I'm like, you're putting yourself at risk. Yeah.
But on these pictures, I just want to go back to the light just because I think some clarification need to be made and I'd like to give you the opportunity to do so. You have an email here, I believe in your document that you provided saying that it was a 30-minute emergency on April 1st, the night before.
That was my understanding. I didn't have a time frame, but I did text that guy that morning. You can see it was 7:48 in the morning when I texted him, and he said he had to leave town. At that time, I wasn't even sure the guy had just left, right? He hadn't paid, whatever. So I was just trying to find out where he was, and it just happened to be that he texted me that he had a family emergency, which is why he left. I wasn't aware of the times. Mr. Mendenhall doesn't talk to me, and Matt didn't give me any time frame of when the guy did. I just assumed it had to be in the dark at some point.
And that was when I made note of, I'm like, well, just myself and our conditions wise, it was something that we did not necessarily consider was the fact of making sure that if there was going to be light, that it was downcast lighting.
Oh, that's one of the conditions that we were talking about.
And you said you only had one guy there for 2 weeks.
And then that atrocity with crappy camper at the end that Rodney had pictures of. She was there for probably, I don't know, four days, maybe. I don't know how long. It wasn't very long. The guy from Texas left, and then she had called looking for a place again. Let her stay there. Same idea. And then when I heard that the sheriff had been there, I went and locked her out of power, and she was out that day.
All right, let's get back on where we're at. So conditions of downcast lighting, conditions of that, I don't know if it would be so much of a condition, but it goes back to the engineer for the grading plan, just to make sure that everything's adequate. And then a fence on the west side and a berm on the south side.
On the engineer and the grading permit, I mean, I can follow up with the county engineer to make sure that he's met it. And I can also express to the county engineer that the neighboring property owner is stating that they are receiving water from the STIR project. Can they please go back out and review to make sure that things are done?
And it's still good. I think it's up for renewal in June.
Okay.
So if we're gonna do dirt work of any kind, it would be a good idea just to get it, the grading permit renewed.
What's downcast lighting?
It's not, it just lighting it's down. So it's not, doesn't flare out. So it doesn't
Like
look
for
like
the
picture.
campers or for Clay's property?
I think any of the lighting that the campers lighting, play with, if we're to ever stick any lighting out there, we want to make sure that it was downcast.
Because one thing I was writing was, I think it'd be nice to have a light on your sign as you're coming in, so they see that. And then also maybe if you can put a little sign at each campsite that has quiet hours, lights off of campers on the outside at a certain time, your number to call, and then also obviously 911 in case of emergency. I think that would be nice to do I'm sure they could do like a little 5x7 type thing for each campsite.
Jeff, we haven't heard from you much.
I'm still stuck on the idea of the fence being helpful.
We could start with that, you know.
I say we come in with the. Looks like around approximately an 8-foot fence to the west side, or what seems adequate between the
say we
zoning
put-
official and with the applicant.
I say we make a motion that we provide a screening fence on the west side as determined by our impartial zoning official. So we have no line of sight from a camper, standing in a camper, to their windows. I mean, you can stand in your camper and do a 4-foot level line of sight.
I understand your.
And see how high it needs to be. We can't sit here and say it has to be this high.
Okay.
We need our zoning official to determine how and how far. Like I said, it doesn't need to go all the way to 34 right away. And it doesn't need to go all the way south to the ditch. We're talking about screening here.
Okay.
So that could be a simple deal to start with.
Okay.
And the drainage, I kind of like Matt's idea, but and then will our county engineer be able to say that, yes, this should not flood onto the neighboring property?
I can't tell you what exactly they'll be able to say. I just, if they
That's
have.
what we want to know.
They have the grading permit. They have responsibility over it. I just want to make sure, I would say that on our part of it, we would want to make sure, is the grading permit being followed? Are the, I'm drawing a blank on it right now, but are basically the retention methods, working as designed? So.
What if it's determined that water is going off this property onto the neighbor's property and flooding his property? Is that gonna be liable on our county engineer then, or is it gonna be on the guy who created the grading permit?
Well, grading plans are living documents, right? Because a 1-inch rain event could blow out any of your prevention methods that you have there. And so that grading permit is meant to be changed and altered if things don't operate in the fashion that they're supposed to operate in. I'm sure Clay's engineer would understand that. Our engineer would more than likely contact Clay's engineer, which would then bring back Clay and his contractor to say, hey, this part we designed isn't working appropriately. Here's the new redesign. Now we need that put in. And along with that, there's gonna be silt fences and silt socks and everything else that gets put down in there.
Can we start with maybe just one motion at a time?
Yep, so we're amending, is that what you would call this, amending the CUP that we originally had, the original CUP?
You are amending the 2024-06 conditional use.
This was in 24, you did it?
It was right in
Wow.
October. Because that's why I had to go back to the April 25 meeting when kind of brought up that whole berm aspect of it and going through the Mills County Code of the different pieces were to be met by a 8-feet barrier.
I made a motion.
You're gonna have to restate that motion.
Make a motion that our impartial zoning official goes to the site and determines how high and how long this screening barrier fence should be.
Second.
I could even add on that, like I said before, so the line of sight, someone from a camper window can't see into the neighbor's window.
So we have a motion from Pat, a second from Jeff. Audra, did you get that?
Not even just the windows, I mean, the back porch in general. You can't sit out there without somebody staring at you.
I think that's what.
Sure, he would
that's what
see
they're
that
gonna
too.
Be able to determine when they.
Still haven't addressed the nuisance.
Just a free for all, ain't it?
Yeah, it's tough tonight, but
Well, we can't fix stupid.
Oh, you've proven that.
so. Can you get a roll call on that one right there, please?
Collins,
Yes.
Gentlemen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes,
Evans,
Evans, yes.
thank you. So the next condition would be downcast lighting on campers. And associated
I'll make a motion if somebody else wants to.
vehicles.
So on campers nowadays, it's LEDs that they have. on the outsides of them. So are we saying they can't have those on at all? Because like, usually when you roll out like your awning or whatever, and you want to set out underneath it and turn on your lights, those lights are there. Or even if you're setting out without your awning, you have some light, and typically LEDs don't attract bugs. But
I haven't owned a camper in a couple of years, but one's campers that I had used to have a little light skirt
Yeah.
on it that came out and to where, so the light's on in your camper, but it's being down.
Yeah,
I
they're
don't-
Claire, are you familiar with downcast lighting?
LEDs.
Claire, are you familiar with downcast lighting campers?
Whatever you guys want. I don't mean, I see that one camper, maybe the bar lights it has up top has a problem, but they do design them so they don't project. You know, the other issue,
projected lighting.
the other issue I would say is hopefully with, you know, whatever we put in helps.
In case they put them.
What was that last part,
I
Claire?
was just gonna say, hopefully on top of, you know, downcast lighting or however you wanna word it, whatever we're using as a fence helps prevent that. So it's not, you know, it's not an issue. I think the fence takes care of a lot of it. Line of sight takes care of a lot of it. Obviously, I agree that we don't want yard lights or farm lights or all that, but you know, like I said, I think the only one in question on my video was probably the one guy that looked like he maybe had an LED strip that just kind of shone out.
Yeah.
What word did you use? I mean,
No
downcast,
no
no projection, downcast lighting,
No
no
projection
projection
lighting
on the whole site.
on campers and or associated equipment.
Grounds.
You get that, Audra?
Would say stationary lighting.
Stationary lighting. Can you read it back to me, please?
No downcast lighting on campers, no projected lighting on campers or associated equipment, and it said stationary lighting.
Okay. So I make a motion. I'll go ahead. You guys go ahead.
Second, I'll second it.
You made the motion.
No,
Cory.
I'll let somebody else take the motion.
I'll make the motion.
Better use.
That's why.
I'll second.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Collins,
Yes.
Gentlemen.
Yes.
Light
Yes.
and Evans.
Yes. And now we need to go to the earthen berm on the south side.
Well, does it have to be again an earthen burn or a
Well,
landscape burn?
We're trying to appease the exact district, and the neighbors that are here against are looking for an earthen berm, I believe.
The south neighbors want an earthen burn.
You guys want an earthen berm on the south side?
You guys were asking what the neighbors want. That's what we, I mean.
You'd prefer that over,
Landowner, what's the applicant want?
applicant. Earthen berm in that area, how, is that a 6-foot earthen berm?
How, do you want it clear to the levee? Or just like halfway line of sight, or maybe that's a deal they could meet?
I was thinking 3/4 away. If it gets high, when you get towards the levee.
So maybe the applicant or that they can meet the non-partial, however that would word it down there and
Exact same berm.
agree on a spot to do that.
That'd be something our zoning official needs to look at.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to throw stuff on you,
The
but
same way you did the fence.
same with the fence while you're there.
How far has it gotta be off the property line?
Well, the berm can't go anywhere on the across the property line, so
Must
what's
be 12
what's
foot.
3 to 1 or whatever that is, plus
So
more.
far from the property line.
Yeah, it's gonna push it back, because, I mean, just the design of it's gonna push it back.
What's, Pat, I'd like to have, use the same verbiage that you used on the fence.
Yeah. Zoning official can determine location. Berm.
Are you putting the berm?
This is board discussion. So like here too.
What was engineered plan? Yeah. To catch up to that. Right. And on site, on the site plan. Okay, Pat?
What are we talking?
No, we're just talking the same berm, so,
Okay,
so.
I
same
was on a
verbiage.
different room, so.
Nope, they're good.
I'm back
They got
on
a-
the south
they-
side
They got
now.
a fence.
Okay.
So just by being out there. The way the site looks to me, I obviously don't have lasers or anything pointing at it, but it looks to me like it's all going to that northwest corner. So I don't know that if they did the earthen thing on the south side, I don't think you're blocking anything. Cause I think it's already designed to go to the northwest corner.
It's gonna be a carrier of it anyway, okay.
Yeah.
So we need a motion.
whether you want to do it or not, me.
Yeah,
Say
go ahead,
Pat,
you-
go to the same distance or same.
I make a motion that our impartial zoning official determines the height and location of an earthen berm on the south property line. All right,
Like, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Pat and a second by Jeff. Can I get a roll call, please?
Evans,
Yes.
Collins,
yes.
Like,
Yes.
gentlemen.
Yes.
As far as the grading plan on site plan, is that a recommendation? Or is that?
I think what Matt said is a good starting point, is a good plan.
Yeah, I don't believe that that's any condition to be added to that. I think that is just, that's a condition of the grading permit. We just need to follow up. We'll just follow up from our office to ensure that the county engineer is taking, knows of the water being driven down that way. Then he can work with that other engineer to find out, is this happening? If so, then let's modify.
But this will be in the record that you're doing that.
It's in the minutes in the record. I don't think it's a condition that gets added.
Okay.
In a condition be put in place that the berm, the fence, and at least enforcement for the downcast lightning is done within a certain set of time. Because, I mean, he's already open without meeting the conditions currently, right? And I assume you probably want to stay open.
Oh, I understand what you mean. Can we
Can we
ensure?
say, let's do 3 months, and in 3 months,
Yes.
call you back if you don't get it done in 3 months?
I can't, I mean, I don't know about, I don't think the berm would be that big of a deal. I could hold it myself if I had to, but have somebody grade it. But the only issue would be the fence timing, and I can't believe they're more than 3 months out, depending on the type of fence. And like it, that is whatever, a 6 or 8 foot privacy fence. That's a very common, depending on what type of fence we decide on. I don't know, who does it. I just called somebody that had done my fences before. So as long as it's something common, and obviously if I had it ordered and paid for and they weren't there to install it, I would think you guys would, have understanding, but I can't imagine it would take longer than 3 months to get it in.
Well, if it's
Fence?
Yeah.
No.
4, 5, or 6, I just think it'd be good to have a set.
I think 3's fine. I don't care. 3, I'm fine with 3. Like I said, if there's something that comes up, obviously I'll approach Matt. It's gonna be legitimate, if there's something back ordered or something I can't get. I'll let him know who the contractors are gonna be,
If it's American Fence, I would say this, I worked for American Fence for a number of years. This is their busy season. They could be anywhere from 12 weeks out. A lot of them. On a 6-foot fence, this will be a residential crew that would come in and set it. They'll come set the post 1 week. They'd be back within a week, 2 weeks to then send their build crew out that would then build the fence. So, you could be looking at 14 weeks, maybe. Just how busy they are. It is the busy season for fences.
Will the fence be set back behind? Will it be set, because it can't be set on the west side of the berm, right? Because that's where their fence is. Well, I guess potentially it could. But I guess where are you planning on putting the fence? On the west side of the berm, in between the berm and the trees, or on the other side of the trees?
we'll probably yank the trees and move them if we're gonna put a fence up. if the fence has to come off the property line, you know, all that stuff will just get moved and rearranged, because the idea of the trees and the yard buffer and all that was for the, you know, line of sight, and things of that nature. Well, if there's a fence there, that's, you know, I don't need to have trees and a fence, and then, you know, I'll just probably pull the trees back behind the fence.
Yeah.
Have somebody come and spade them out. Or use them on my earthen berm.
I'd say if he sets the fence back in on his property, more than likely he's gonna wanna set it back within probably, you know, at least a mower's, whatever his mower's set up for, so he can just run his mower down that side of the fence. And you don't want to set those things too close, and you're gonna wind up with a 1 foot weed patch between fences, and nobody wants that.
Heather, do you have something?
Well, I just,
Good.
I
wants to-
mentioned earlier that just a little sign at each camper, of the quiet time. I also wrote on here about lights off at like 11 PM, just because I know when I'm out camping, I might leave my LEDs.
Before that.
I know your quiet times before, but I'm just talking like your lights, like if they go out to dinner and come back, it's pitch black out there. I know. I'm not too far from you guys. So it's like lights off at 11, you know, because when you come back, you don't want to, you know, break an ankle trying to get to the door of your camper
I
type
think
thing.
more often than not, those guys fall asleep in their camper and just. forget
Right. Essentially, they're 12, 15-hour days. They come, they crash. And then with your number and then the emergency 911 number on it, was always thinking like a little 5x7. So it's right there by their electrical or whatever. What?
Like on a 4x4 post right there.
Yeah, whatever you have right there to attach it to, like, you know, the state campgrounds have their
Yep.
site number and quiet
Yep,
times.
just put it in there and we'll have them make the sign.
You want to make a motion to that?
Motion, Heather, what?
Motion to add signage at each campsite. Including the quiet hours, place contact number and emergency 911.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Second. Motion by Heather, second by Pat. Can I get a roll call, please?
Like
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Gentlemen.
Yes.
On the fence?
If we're gonna put a time frame on the conditions, do a time frame on those things. Yes. And the
So
placards.
all amended CUP conditions shall be completed no later than. I mean, your fence deal, I guess, has a lot of merit on the date of it. All amended conditions in the next 6 months. I put a 6 month deal on it. If you're saying your fence could be that far out, otherwise you're gonna end up coming back and having a situation.
Just stay within 6 months on our motions.
So any amended motion,
Go that far.
Oh,
am I sure? Well, you're saying 14 weeks on a fence. That's
3 months.
That's 3.5 months.
If you say 4 months, at September 19th.
September
You guys
1.
want to use 4 months? We can use 4 months. That's fine.
September 1.
September 1st? Okay.
We need to vote on that?
Yes.
So somebody needs to set the motion for the amended conditions.
Okay, fine. Flip coins up here. Set a motion for the amended conditions to be met within, what did we say, 6 months?
4
4
months
months.
by September 1st.
By September 1st.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Heather, a second by Pat. Can I get a roll call, please?
Gentlemen. Yes. Mike,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
No, there was no real public comment on this.
There's no other business tonight. This, the only topic
A
would be.
motion to adjourn.
The zoning officials conference is gonna be going on for the rest of the week. It's out this year, so we'll go out there. It's an interesting case law came across from Worth County, winning an Iowa Supreme Court case against the wind energy company. And then there was a conflicting case from the Iowa Utilities Board that came out that granted the solar energy company permission to do a solar project, and they did not attempt to attain Saragona County's approval. They went straight to that. So everybody's kind of waiting to see if Saragona County is going to go to court against Iowa Utilities Board. Those are the two main zoning topics of the state these days.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Did we make a motion to adjourn?
You did, nobody seconded. So I'm
Okay,
gonna
I'll
say-
second it.
Is there gonna be a meeting on the 16th, Audrey?
No.
No. Nothing in June.
Nothing in June. Pardon
You
me.
gotta vote on the motion to adjourn.
Yes.